Well guys, welcome back to my channel. Doing another video. Today's video is gonna be a little bit similar to me ranking every Pixar movie, but this time we're gonna be talking about reboots, remakes, and revivals. Now before I go on, I do want to say I am currently trying to work on another movie review to put up, but as of right now I'm kind of holding back on it because doing movie reviews is taking a long time and it just takes a while because one, I'm always busy at work and I never had the free time, and plus my mental health is declining a bit. So as of right now, you're probably gonna get like small video reviews or videos, stuff like this. So I do apologize for not getting a movie review out, but I will continue to work on those pretty soon. Now with reboots, revivals, and remakes, not a lot of people know the difference between reboots and revivals. A good majority of people do know about like remakes because we've seen remakes a lot, but not a lot of people know the difference between reboots and revivals. Now, reboots discard continuity to recreate its characters' plot lines and backstory from the beginning. Another way to describe it as to like rebrand or restart entertainment universe that has already been established. A remake tells the same story as the original but uses a different cast and may alter the theme and change the story setting. And the final one, revival, which we mostly see in television, is a television series that returns to produce new episodes after being off on the air for a certain amount of time, mostly due to cancellation. Now, in my opinion, there are some good reboots and revivals that are pretty good, and then there are some that are just so goddamn awful that they shouldn't have either rebooted or revived it at all. So because of all these different reboots and revivals of certain TV shows that I used to watch as a kid, I'm going to list my top 5 best reboots and revivals and top 5 worst reboots and revivals. So we might as well get started on that. Also guys, before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like in the video, don't forget to comment down below, and let's get started on the top 5 worst and top 5 best reboots, revivals, and remakes. Now, picking number 5 for the worst R&R, it was a little bit tricky for me to come to a conclusion like which one is actually the worst. So this one, I feel like it's bad, but I can at least tolerate it a little bit, is the All That reboot. This is one show that definitely didn't deserve the reboot, remake, revival treatment at all. The original version from the 90s was perfectly fine the way it was. And honestly, the original is a lot better. The cast in the original 90s show was freaking hilarious because you had like Kenan Thompson, Kel Mitchell, and everything. Like, they were funny. The sketches were to die for. They were absolutely hilarious. And despite the fact that the show was created by Creepo over here, can't stand him anymore, this show was actually really funny and good. Like, this is why the original is the best one. Now, when it came to the newer version of All That, I watched a couple episodes and honestly, I did not laugh at all. I was more annoyed and just like, why is this a thing? Like, yeah, sure, they have like some of the original cast from the original All That, but the jokes are unfunny, the sketches are unfunny, and some of the newer kids on the show are just, I don't know, they're boring and not funny. Like, I know they're doing their best as like actors and everything, that's fine, but it's just awful. I'm sorry. The All That reboot, just a terrible one. Thank goodness that this one was canceled in 2020. Now at number 5 for the best reboot, revival, remake, I'm putting Fuller House. Now surprisingly, this one was actually really good. I mean, it had the original cast, aside from the Olsen twins not being part of the new series, but still, it was actually pretty good. And what sucked is that this only lasted for like 5 seasons on Netflix and they just wouldn't continue it, which So kind of sucks because I was actually looking forward to like seeing the story go on and everything, and hoping that maybe the Olsen twins would actually appear for once, or if anything, they could have gotten their younger sister Elizabeth Olsen to play Michelle Tanner. But missed opportunity. But either way, still a good show. At number 4 for the worst R has to be the Powerpuff Girls reboot that came out in 2016. Now, I am going to be completely honest. This one, along with 2 other reboots that I'm going to be talking about later on, I felt like this one disrespected the original one completely, like a slap in the face. Like, in the original, the character designs, they were perfectly fine. And the animation, it was okay, but then it started to improve later on in the different seasons in the original, which I totally liked. And plus, all the action that was going on and the villains, perfect. The original was like the best one. Now with the whole reboot, the animation and the character designs are okay, but they got rid of the original voice actors for the Powerpuff Girls, and I felt like that was just completely awful. The characters, I felt like they were just dumber. Like they dumbed them down a bit. And the whole like premise of the show, like they were trying to like go like trying to be like modern, like living in the modern times of the world and everything, like trying to be like relevant. It was just dumb. But the worst part of this reboot was that they introduced a 4th Powerpuff Girl named Bliss, who was supposed to be their 4th sister, when we know damn well their 4th sister was Bunny from the original, and they didn't bring her back in this reboot. Awful. Not to mention, they also gave us this.
Party time! Gross.
What? Yep, one of the worst reboots ever. At number 4 for the best R has to be the DuckTales reboot from 2017. Now, I will admit I was a little bit skeptical about this whole reboot remake that was coming out for this particular show because I used to watch the old one, but this one was actually really good. We had all the original characters from the original series come back, and we even got to see the triplets' mother for the first time in the series. And I do like the fact that Donald Duck is a little bit more involved in this series too, when he only appeared in maybe like a couple episodes from the original. We also got cool appearances from Disney characters from the old Disney afternoon shows, like Darkwing Duck, Kick Cloud Kicker from Tailspin, the Rescue Rangers, and even Goofy appeared in one episode as well. Only one issue that I kind of have with this series is that they changed Webby and Mrs. Beakley's personality trait in this series, but other than that, the whole series in general was pretty good. I'm not sorry to say this, but for number 3 for the worst R has to be the Rugrats reboot. I am still trying to figure out to this day why this show had to get the whole reboot remake treatment. Like, it was so unnecessary. Not to mention, there was a lot of changes that they made. For one example, they make the show take place in present day times. Like, they have like smartphones and smart computers and everything like that. Like, that is so unnecessary. Because in the original, it was taken back like in the 90s where they had like the flip phones and everything like that. Not to mention, I'm very confused about Susie Carmichael's character in this new reboot series. Like, for some reason, she looks more of like the baby's age. Like, almost like similar to like Chucky's age. Not like Angelica's age like in the original series, because her and Angelica were around the same age. But in the series, she looks more like she's the baby's age, which I don't understand. And then out of nowhere, Kimmy shows up in the series later on, and for some reason she looks more like Angelica's age than the baby's age. Because in the original, she was a baby's age. And I'm even more confused about that. Another change that was made into the series that some people kind of disagree on was the fact that they made Phil and Lil's mom a single mother, but also made her a lesbian. And they got rid of her husband, Howard, that was from the original. I mean, come on, let's be real. We kind of all knew that Betty was part of the LGBTQ community anyways. I mean, I would have thought she would have been like bisexual and, you know, still would have brought Howard into the new series, but they probably just could have maybe had like a divorce or something. But no. And then not to mention with the whole animation in this series, it just looks really just gummy in my opinion. So yeah, this reboot, definitely one of the worst ones. It's not my favorite. Now for this one, I was kind of debating if this deserves to be at number 3 or number 2, but since there's only one season of this show right now, I had to put it on number 3. But number 3 for the best R&R is The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. Now, I was a huge fan of the original Proud Family, but this reboot, or I guess this would count as like a revival since it's kind of a continuation from the original, this one just blows it out of the park. Like, it's really good. And even though there's only just one season right now, but they are going to renew it for a season 2, which I'm very excited for. I love that they brought all the original cast and the original characters back, except for Sticky, because a certain someone had to mess up his career. But he did appear in the very first episode, but only for like a quick shot. I do like the fact that in this revival of the Proud Family that they made Michael's character, who was flamboyant, to now being openly gay and gender non-conforming in the series, which I feel like we all kind of knew he was kind of gay, but you know, back then on Disney Channel it wasn't really allowed. But now that we are in 2022, it's a good thing that they made this change. Also, the designs of the characters still almost looks similar to the original designs from the first series, but as they kind of grew up a bit, which I kind of liked. The animation is pretty good in my opinion too, and the humor is so funny. And they've had a couple guest star appearances from Lizzo and Lil Nas X, which I find pretty cool that they did that. So yeah, this one, pretty good reboot. Definitely like. Number 2 for the worst R&R has to be The Magic School Bus Rides Again. Again, this one was a huge disrespectful slap to the face. I was actually looking forward to this series, but what I ended up getting was a huge disappointment. Like, this series made me appreciate the original series, despite the fact that in the original series that some of the science stuff's a little bit outdated, but still, it made me appreciate it more. Like, explain to me, how did we go from this to this? How did we go from Miss Frizzle to Miss Frizzle's sister? That's not even the worst part of this series. They got rid of my favorite character from the original, Phoebe. They got rid of her and replaced her with this girl. Like, who the hell is this girl? I don't know where she's from. And just like that, they just erased Phoebe's character by saying, oh, she went back to her old school. Like, why would you do that? So yeah, Magic School Bus Rides Again, worst R&R ever. And you can't change my mind about that at all. Number 2 for the best R&R has to be the Animaniacs reboot. Now, I will admit, this reboot, I kind of was a little bit skeptical about it, if it was going to be any good or not. But from the very first episode that I watched, it quickly made me very, very happy. Like, it followed the same flow like the original did. And I'm very glad that they went with that. And the animation is pretty good too. And, of course, you can't have the Animaniacs without Pinky and the Brain. So I'm glad they brought Pinky and the Brain back too. Only downfall is that they don't have the other characters that were from the original. But from what I've read about, they said that this series does do really well. They might bring back some of the other characters from the original show. Plus, they kept the original voice actors from the original series. So that is a total win in my book. Now, with all of the worst R&Rs that I have listed, nothing tops the number one worst R&R on this list. This show has gotten so much hate from older fans of the original show, and I can completely agree with why this show has gotten so much hate and why they want this show to end. And what show might I be talking about, you may ask? Well, the number one for the worst R&R is Teen Titans Go. This version of the show just totally disrespected the original show in general. Like, it is so awful. Like, it just hurts my ears to listen and my eyes to watch this whole series. In this series, there's rarely any action sequence or story arc in this series. And what they did was give us just comedy and everything. And it's just awful humor. And the characters. How did we go from super awesome, super cool, crime fighting, badass heroes to complete idiotic, stupid, unfunny morons? Like, tell me, how do we shift from that? This whole series reboot is just a complete joke. Not to mention, this is one of the only shows on Cartoon Network that they would only play like 24/7 on their channel. Like, I don't understand. It's not that funny. They need to end it. Just end it right now. It's not funny. It is awful. This was definitely the number one show that did not need the R&R treatment at all. Worst reboot ever. And now finally we can lighten things up and talk about my number one favorite reboot, revival, or remake. And that one definitely has to go to the iCarly revival. Now, at first I was a little bit shocked that they were gonna bring back iCarly, because that was one of my favorite shows watching when I was growing up. But I love this version of iCarly because this one was for the older fans, and it was going to be a little bit more mature by, you know, having a little bit of swear words and some innuendos and everything, which I feel they did a really good job on that. And this series is totally funny. They're already finished the second season. They're going to bring it back for a third season, so I'm very excited about that. And thankfully, Creepo is not even working on this show, despite him working on the original version of iCarly, but he's no longer part of Nickelodeon after some allegations, and so someone else is in charge on taking this reboot. Now, despite the show having part of the original cast from iCarly on this show, the only person that didn't come back to do this reboot was Jeanette McCurdy, who plays Sam, and for good reasons too. I'm not going to go through like the whole reasoning and explanation of why Jeanette McCurdy didn't want to go back on the revival of iCarly, because I feel like that should be a video of its own, which I probably might do. But yeah, I honestly think that, you know, Jeanette not being on the show, I think this is like a good choice for her and everything. And I know some fans are like, oh, iCarly's not iCarly without Sam. And it's just like, you know, we have to respect Jeanette's wishes of not wanting to come back onto the show, which is something that we should all be doing, just like respecting her decision. I mean, there might be a chance that she might, you know, probably make a guest appearance, but who knows? But aside from that, overall, the iCarly revival is definitely the best one. I definitely recommend anybody who hasn't seen the original iCarly, go watch that and then watch the revival. It is so good. Anyway guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Do you agree with my picks for the worst and the best R&Rs? And let me know which one's your favorite reboot, revival, remakes, or which one's even like your worst. Let me know. So anyways, that's gonna do it for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.